All right, hey guys. So today we're going to be talking about division of polynomials with the remainder. So yesterday we learned about division of polynomials and we first started at the whiteboards. We did some long division. We did the connection between long division and polynomial long division. We realized that they are the same steps and that we use the same terminology as you can see here. We said that the divisor is what we are dividing by. The dividend is what is being divided, and the quotient is our answer. And sometimes we're going to get a remainder. We then did example 1a and example 2a, and we just had to fill in some blanks while also doing the division. And we really talked about these key steps here, which is 1, we divide. Step 2 is to multiply. Step 3 is to subtract. And then we also added some extra steps because we thought it would be helpful, right? So we said step 4 is telling us to bring down. I would write this down if you did not write this down yesterday. And step 5 is telling you to repeat. We wrote those steps out yesterday. So then after that, we did those two examples together and we talked about the quotient. Remember, that means that's your answer. Remainder, we didn't have any remainders yesterday. And then our solution. We also learned that if you multiply your quotient, which is your answer, and your divisor, which is what you are dividing by, you can check your answer, just like you can check your answer when you're normally doing it with numbers, and now you can do it with polynomials as well. So now we're going to move into the next part, and sometimes when we divide, we have a remainder. Let's take a look to see what happens. So I am now in example 3 of your notes. So it's still going to be the same steps that we did yesterday. So you're still going to start with step 1. Step 1, remember, that is telling you have to divide. You can look up at your notes. I'm just going to write the numbers for the steps so you know where I am at. So yesterday we talked about how you are going to, this is your divisor right here. We're going to look at the first term, the one with the x. That 3x is your divisor. So that is going to be what you are dividing by. This 3x squared is your dividend, so that is what you are going to be dividing. So we have 3x squared divided by 3x, and I'm going to highlight some numbers so you can see where they're coming from. That 3x came from right here, and this 3x squared came from right here, from underneath the house, as Ms. G was saying yesterday. So then from there, we just did our division like we know how to do. So the 3's are going to cancel. And then we have this x times x. And down here, we just have an x. Remember, those cancel. So you're only left with just the x. Just the x. So then we said that right after you divide, you need to put that right up here as part of your answer so you don't forget, right? Common mistake is to forget. So we're going to put that x right up here, right up here. And if you want to even better, you can write it right above this negative 4x. It kind of keeps the terms all aligned together. So then from there, we're going to move on to step 2. Step 2 tells us we need to multiply. We're going to take this x right here, and we are going to multiply it by our divisor. Remember, your divisor is right outside the house. That is that 3x minus 1. 3x minus 1. And then we're just multiplying. So we have x times 3x. It's going to give us 3x squared. And then we have x times a negative 1 is going to give us negative 1x. Or if you just want to put negative x, that's okay too. So then from there, we took it and we did step 3. Well, step 3, think back, what is it? Oh, you guessed correctly. We're subtracting. So we are going to take this 3x squared minus 1x, and we are going to subtract it right underneath that dividend, right underneath what is in the house. So we have 3x squared minus 1x. Well, remember, we are subtracting. This is step 3, so we are currently subtracting. And then remember, I said use parentheses. It helps so much with keeping track of what is being subtracted. Because then we are going to distribute this subtraction symbol to the 3x squared. Well, then that's going to change that into a negative 3x squared. Then I'm going to distribute it to that 1x, and that's going to turn it into a positive 1x. Positive 1x. All I did was distribute that negative. So from there, we are still subtracting. So we have this 3x squared minus 3x squared. Well, that's going to give us a big fat 0. But we don't need to write that 0 in, right? And if you don't like doing that step off to the side like I did right here, you totally do not have to do that. It's just helpful for some students to visually see where I am pulling the numbers from. I was working on this step right here. So then from there, I have this negative 4x plus 1x. Oops, I went all the way back. So I have this negative 4x plus 1x. Well, that is going to give me a negative 3x. So that's going to be negative 3x. Well, now I am on step 4, and step 4 tells me I need to bring the next term down. So plus 7. Just the next term, right? We don't want to bring down a bunch of other terms. I know there isn't any, but, if there was. That was step 4, to bring down. All right, now we are moving into step 5. Well, step 5 just tells us we have to repeat, right? So we're going to go all the way back up to step 1 again. So step 1, that is telling us we need to divide. So now we're not going to look directly under the house, but we're going to start right here. Because we already took care of that 3x squared, right? Now we have this negative 3x. So that's where we're going to be starting. So I have this negative 3x divided by 3x. Once again, I'm going to highlight those numbers so you know where they came from. Here's that negative 3x. Here is that negative 3x. Here is that 3x. And here is that 3x. That's where those numbers came from. So then from there, well, we can see that negative 3 divided by 3 is going to give us negative 1. And the x's are going to cancel each other out, so we just have that negative 1 there. So we just did step 1. After step 1, we should be thinking, ding, 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 I gotta put this number right here. After I divide it, I gotta put it up here as part of my answer. It's gonna be minus 1. So then from there, I'm going to move into step 2. And step 2 tells me I need to multiply. So I got this negative 1. And I'm going to, once again, remember we are multiplying by this divisor. So we have 3x minus 1. Well, then from there, I am just multiplying. So I have negative 1 times 3x is going to give us negative 3x. And then I have this negative 1 times a negative 1. Well, negative times a negative, that's going to give us a positive. So then from there, I'm going to move into step 3. Remember, step 3 tells us that we are subtracting. So I'm going to take this that I just had, and I am going to subtract it. Looks like I was using lines, so I'll keep it consistent. So we are going to subtract. So you got to put our minus sign here. Don't forget to put your minus sign so you know that you're actually doing that step. And we are going to copy that 3x plus 1. And remember, use parentheses so you know what is going on. It is very, very helpful to see what is happening. So with those parentheses, that lets me know that I need to distribute the subtraction symbols. It's going to be a negative 3x. And then from there, I'm going to distribute this negative symbol, and this is going to turn into a negative 1. A negative 1. And I apologize, I forgot this negative right here. that we had at the beginning. So this should actually be, this was a negative 3x, negative 3x, negative 3x, that's what we started with. So when I distribute that negative, that's actually going to give me a positive 3x, a positive 3x. And then the negative right here, that is still going to become, once again, that is going to turn into yes, okay. So then from there, we are going to continue our subtraction. So we're not done, all we did was distribute. So we have negative 3x plus 3x. Well, that's going to give us a big fat 0. We don't need to write that down. And then we have 7 minus 1. Well, that's going to give us 6. 7 minus 1 is going to give us 6. That's going to be 6. Well, then from there, if we're thinking about this, well, that's 6. We don't have any more exponents that we should be, dividing or trying to get rid of, essentially. So there is nothing for us to further do. And this is where we should start thinking to ourselves, well, if there's no more x's that need to be divided, no more powers of x's that need to be divided, which again means the exponents of x's that need to be divided, this 6 right here is going to be our remainder. This 6 right here is our remainder. It's our remainder. So there's a fancy way to write this answer. So right up here on top of the house, you are going to put this 6, and because that is what is left over out of the divisor right here, you're just going to put that 3x minus 1. That is part of your answer. So if you're wondering, well, how do I write this? Well, if you look over here, we broke it down for you. So your quotient, that is going to be what is highlighted in pink. So that's going to be your x minus 1. Your remainder, well, we just said that the remainder is 6. Your solution, how I want you to give me the answer, is going to be written like this. So you're going to give me that x minus 1, and you're going to write your remainder with it. So you have, your remainder is positive, right? And because your remainder is positive, you're going to put a plus sign here. Then you're going to do 6, and then you're going to do it over, like I said, your divisor. This is your divisor over here. So that is going to be 3x minus 1. All right, so then from there, that is your final answer. You can circle that, you can keep it there where it says solution. That is your answer. If you want something to kind of help you out, so you know how you should be writing this, like if you're working on your own, you could put this to help you out. When you have a remainder, your answer should look like quotient, quotient, and remainder over your divisor. This and here could be a positive or a negative. It just depends on what your remainder ends up being. In our case, our remainder ended up being positive right here, and that's why I put the plus. It could be negative though, so sometimes there might be a minus. That's why I use the word and instead. All right, so now we're going to do the next example, and I'm going to try to go through the next example a bit quicker, okay? So that was one example. Now example 4. Now if you're wondering, how do I know what's supposed to be the divisor and what am I dividing by? Well, that is going to be your number at the bottom, your denominator, divisor, denominator, that helps. So I'm going to write out this polynomial expression as long division so I can visually see what is going on. So I'm going to have this 2x plus 3. I'm going to do my house, and I'm going to have x squared plus, or 6x squared plus x minus 7. Sorry, sometimes I think too fast in my head. Also, if you heard my dog, I apologize. She is crying because someone was working on something in the house and she wanted to go upstairs. So that's why, if you heard her. So now we're going to start with step number 1, and I'm going to do that work over here to the left side. So step number 1 is telling us that we need to divide. So I'm going to take this 6x squared because that's my first term, and I'm going to divide that by this 2x. So I have 6x squared divided by 2x. I'll try to keep it consistent and highlight the numbers so you can see what is going on. You could also pause the video if you have to. That is totally okay. So then that is going to give us, well, remember, look at the numbers first. You know how to divide the numbers, right? So we have 6 divided by 2. Well, that's going to give us 3. And now look at your exponents. Remember, when you are dividing, you are subtracting them. So you have x squared divided by x. You're just subtracting those. That's just going to give us that x. If you need to, you can write out the x's if that helps. That cancels, that cancels. That's why there's only one x. So that right there, that is going to be one of the first top parts to our answer. Should I say quotient? That might be best. So that's going to be 3x. Okay, so then from there, we're going to move on to step 2. Step 2 tells us we need to multiply. So we're going to take that 3x right here, and we're going to multiply it times our divisor. So we got 3x times this 2x plus 3. And we know how to multiply, right? So that is going to be, well, that is going to be 6x squared. And then we got this 3x times this 3. Well, that is going to be 9x. And then from there, we are going to move on to step number 3, and that is going to be to subtract. And I just realized that I'm going to run out of space if I write that there. So I'm actually going to move this out of the way over here, because then I'm going to run out of space. So then I'm going to subtract this right here, and I am going to do 6x squared plus 9x. And then, like I said, use those parentheses because it is helpful to distribute that negative, because that's going to turn into a negative 6x squared. Distribute again, and this is going to turn into a negative 9x. So then from there, we are still on that subtraction step, right? So here we are subtracting, and we have this 6x squared minus 6x. That's going to give us 0, but we don't write that in. And we have this x minus 9x. That is going to give us our negative 8x. So in case you need to see that step, I'm going to write it over here. We just did x minus 9x. That gave us, well, there's more negatives, negative 8x. So then from there, we're going to move on to the next step. Next step is step 4. That tells us that we need to bring down. So I'm going to bring down this 7 right here. So then step 5 tells us we need to repeat everything over again because we are not quite done yet. So once again, we are not going to look directly under the house, right? So we're not going to look directly under the house. We're going to look right here at this negative 8x instead. That's where we're going to start. So now we have to move on to, like I said, step 1. So we have step 1 again, negative 8x divided by this 2x. Well, do the numbers first. Negative 8 divided by 2, that's going to give you a negative 4. The x's are going to cancel. You just have that negative 4. So then from there, you need to multiply. So we're on step 2. Let me not mix up my colors. We are now on step 2. Step 2 tells us that we are going to take this negative 4 and we are going to multiply that by our divisor, which is that 2x plus 3. Now, if you're thinking, Miss Cruz, once again, you have forgotten to put that number up at the top as part of our answer. Yes, I did. So let me go do that real quick. That's going to be a minus 4 up here. Remember, right after you divide, put it up there because then you're going to forget. So then let's go back to our multiplication step. So then we have negative 4 times 2x. That's going to give us a negative 8x. Negative 4 times this 3 is going to give us a negative 12. So then from there, we're going to move on to step 3. Step 3, remember, we are subtracting. So I'm going to go right over here, back up here again. I'm going to do minus, and then I got to go back down to make sure that I copy this correctly. 8x minus 12. Do not forget to write in that subtraction symbol right here. It's very helpful because then you need to know that you are going to distribute. It's going to become a negative, well, this is already a negative, right? This is already a negative 8x. So this is going to turn into a positive 8x. Then I am distributing again, and this is going to become a positive 12x. And then I'm still on that subtraction step, right? So negative 8x plus 8x is going to give us a big fat 0. And then from there we have this negative 7 plus 12x. Negative 7 plus 12x. If you need to see that written down somewhere else other than right here, because this is too busy looking, I will write it down here so you can see we're on negative 7 plus 12. But when we do that math, that is just going to give us a 5. It's going to give us a 5. Nothing else to bring down. Nothing else that we can divide. We seem to have gotten all of our powers or exponents as low as they can go. So that is our remainder. Once again, this is our remainder. So I'm going to go and I'm going to fill in these blanks. So my quotient is this 3x minus 4. My remainder is this 5. And now I need to write my solution. Well, remember, you write your solution as quotient and remainder over divisor. So I have this 3x minus 4 plus 5 over, and I gotta double make sure, what is my divisor? Well, your divisor's right here. That is going to be 2x plus 3. And that is your final answer. You can box that in if that makes you feel a little bit better on the inside, because I know it makes me feel a little bit better on the inside. So that is it for doing long division and getting a remainder. At this point, take out your practice packet. You should be able to work on 4.3a and get through that. If you finish that and you finish early, or you have already done that because you are super awesome A+ Algebra 2 students, there is extra practice on Google Classroom. There is no worksheet with it. You're just going to copy the questions that are in Google Classroom onto a scratch piece of paper and work on them on there. The expectation is that you are working the whole time in class, so please make sure you are doing that and using your time wisely today. Ms. G will be around to help. I will be meeting with students. I hope this video was helpful. You can like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. I'll see you guys, and